welcome to a brand new edition of ACF411, the official podcast of the Allen County Fair. I'm Nutrients Russ Decker, your host, and joining me in the Central District studio today is Allen County Fair Manager Troy Elwer. Hey, Troy.
Hey, Russ. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, glad to have you. So, since last year's fair, it was a big one. It was the 175th. Everything was like super cool. Have you made any improvements to the fairgrounds since then?
Yes, we have. I know in these couple preview podcasts that we've done, we've tried to highlight a little bit of what we've done. And over the last 4 years especially, I spoke to this at a couple of the service clubs that I've already talked to this year. Rotary's still up and coming here, coming in August. But over the last 4 years, we've done roughly $1.7 million worth of capital improvement projects, thanks to a bunch of community partners here in the community, Nutrien being one of those, getting monies from the state as well as several different grant opportunities. And then the Ag Society kicking in roughly $660,000 worth of monies of their own towards these projects. But in particular, this year, some things that are new to look forward to. We've got some pretty exciting things in store. One thing in particular I wanted to talk about was for our viewers or those that are familiar with where the old Farm Bureau building was on the north end of the property where you'd go and get your milkshakes or a nice home-cooked meal.
Yep.
Farm Bureau came to the board back in December, and they were really looking for a more desirable location on the property to serve their food because they felt they weren't reaching their full potential in sales and seeing people come through the door. And they felt that their clientele was more farmers in the 4-H FFA side of things, which, as many of you know, are on the south end of our property. So we took a look at the space and we found them a location on the south side of the grandstands. They're in that parking lot area where we normally park some folks and also have some food vendors. And since then, Farm Bureau has embarked on building a brand new structure that is 24 by 45 and roughly 14 feet tall, so much bigger than their existing structure. And with how that project's going, it's looking like they're going to be fully operational by this year's fair and being able to serve food down there.
Well, that's great. And puts them closer to the barns, which I'm sure they like.
Absolutely. And the coolest part about that investment is they did not ask the Ag Society or anyone for a dime. And this project is going to round out to be around $153,000 that the Allen County Farm Bureau is just fronting the build for. And those of you that know how the fairgrounds work and our relationship with the county commissioners, the county owns the property, they own the buildings on the property, and then the Ag Society leases everything from them, and we're kind of the caretakers. So essentially what Farm Bureau did is they donated a $153,000 asset to the Ag Society and in turn to the county themselves.
And the good news is that the milkshakes will be back. Because last year we didn't have milkshakes because at the Farm Bureau milkshakes.
Yes, because they vacated their structure last year, but they weren't able to get their building built last year, so they weren't able to do anything at all. So I think they're raring to go to be serving food to the folks again this year.
Excellent. So I'm glad we could promote that. And really, it's great food. Homemade stuff there. There's they have like chili typically that's homemade and some chicken noodle soup typically that's homemade, and of course the milkshakes. Good.
Absolutely.
Pretty good. What else is new? Anything?
Yeah. So there's one other project I do want to highlight that's still in progress at this point, but a pretty cool partnership between us at the fairgrounds, Special Friends of Northwest Ohio, and the AEP Foundation. We received money from both of those organizations to build what's called a sensory-friendly shed. What it's going to be, it's a 10 by 16 structure that's going to sit on the north end of the property. It is mobile, so we're able to pick it up with a forklift and move it wherever we want it on the grounds. But essentially what it is it's a safe space for families to utilize if they have a family member or friend that has a physical or developmental disability. If they're out at the fairgrounds and they're having an episode of some sort or very overwhelmed, because if you've ever been to the fair, there's a lot going on. In years past, when something like that would happen, more often than not, the individual would have to leave the property and then not come back at all that day, probably because we didn't have a space for them to go. Well, essentially what this sensory-friendly shed is going to be is an area where these folks can go. It's a quiet, compose yourself type of space where we'll have some sensory-friendly activities and things for them to utilize. The Allen County Board of DD and Autism Life Center and Special Friends are going to help us man that space during the 9 days. But it'll be a location for those families to use as a resource throughout the 9 days. That way, when the individual's composed and feeling back to normal in themselves again, they can leave the space and go out and enjoy the fair just like anybody else the rest of the day.
And so I'll tie that back to last year was the first year I think you did a sensory-friendly day.
Yes.
Where the lights aren't flashing as much and it's not as loud. And I see you're bringing that back.
We are, yes. That'll be Thursday, August 27th. And the layout will be very similar to last year. We're going to do a livestock clinic for those folks in the Union Bank Company show arena, where up to 50 individuals with physical or developmental disabilities will be able to sign up for that opportunity. And then the coolest part about it is we have Junior Fair Board kids run it. They'll bring their species of livestock to the show arena. We break it up into sections, and then we break the participants up into smaller groups. And then the groups get 10 to 15 minutes per section where they get to learn from the Junior Fair Board kids what it takes to raise the project, how to show the project, and then give them an opportunity to actually interact with the animals. So that livestock clinic went over very well last year, and signups are going to fill up pretty quickly for that. We'll have a resource fair in the gospel tent for families to utilize as a resource to see what types of programs and resources are available to them in the community to help. And then we're partnering with Poor Jack Amusements again this year, where they are, for a select amount of hours, I believe 2, they're going to open a select amount of sensory-friendly rides and games where they'll have the lights turned off, the sound turned off. They'll be operating, but the folks with physical or developmental disabilities are going to be able to ride or play those games free of charge.
Yeah, I think that's a really neat thing to do. And I know you and I had talked about, I was down at the Ohio State Fair one day when they were doing that. Mm-hmm. And it's the first I'd heard of it. And I thought, what a great idea, because they get to enjoy the fair. They're not distracted by, the flashing lights and all the loud noises and things, and they get to enjoy the fair like everybody else. And it's pretty neat.
You're exactly right. And that's really what we've tried to place an emphasis on with all of the improvement projects and things that we've been doing the last 4 or 5 years, is making the fairgrounds and our facilities and the experience more accessible and inclusive to all, so that fairgoers of any age, any demographic whatsoever, and can come out and have the same safe, fun experience that we're hoping everybody can take out of it.
Okay. Well, let's get into the fair.
Yes.
All right. So you've got a concert coming in. Some guy, I think he's got the #1 song right now on the country chart.
I don't know if it's #1, but I do know that last summer it was deemed Song of the Summer with High Road. So yes, on Saturday, August 22nd in the grandstands, we're going to have our headlining act be Co Wetzel, the rising country star, with special guest Colby Cooper. And I would like to put a plug in for that event, that tickets are still on sale for that event. I know the rumor mill around's been that show is sold out, and that is not true. The stage front section of our venue is sold out, but we still have plenty of party pit tickets, track tickets, and bleachers and grandstands tickets available for purchase.
And those start at what?
They start at, the cheapest is $50, bleachers and grandstands, track is $65, and party pit is $75.
Cool. Yeah, and I think it's going to be a great show. I mean, everything I've heard about Co Wetzel and folks who have seen him in concert say it'll be a very high energy kind of concert.
It is. He definitely is one for crowd engagement and interaction, similar to what Hardy was like back in 2023. They have a very similar style. So it will definitely be a party of some sorts. And at that event, we will be selling beer for the attendees. And for those of you that don't know, and the listeners listening to us, all of our beer sales, the profits and proceeds for those, are specifically earmarked for junior fair improvement projects. So all of those proceeds go into a fund, and then we listen to the different junior fair departments across the property and develop a priority list where we'll take those beer funds and reinvest it into making a bigger and better experience for all of our junior fair goers.
So it doesn't go to improve our podcast studio at the fair?
Unfortunately not. No, the milking parlor is what it is, but it did get a new door this year. We did get a new door on the milking parlor, but no, it will look very similar to what it has been the last couple of years.
Well, I know Alex just wants air conditioning, but that's a whole other issue there. So what else? So we've got the big concert. Obviously, we're going to have a couple of nights of harness racing.
Yes, yeah. So after the concert, we segue into Sunday, which is the CUPE Showcase of Bands at 7 p.m. Before that, though, at 4:30 on the Nutrien Plaza stage, we're bringing back the OSU Alumni Band, thanks to CUPE as well for doing that. But that's always a highly anticipated and heavily attended event there outside on the Nutrien Plaza stage. And then it's a perfect segue into the band show, and most attendees from that make their way to the band show that evening. And then you're right, yes, Monday and Tuesday, we follow that up with harness racing. Wednesday is our cheerleading competition, which again is a really cool event because the band show and the cheer competition really speak to what a large portion of our mission at the fairgrounds is, which is showcasing our talented youth that we have right here in this community.
And I know last year at the fair, we actually had Scott Shutt from CUPE in the podcast studio, and we talked a little bit about the CUPE band show and the history there. So that's always a big crowd pleaser. I mean, the grandstand will be full that night and for cheerleading.
It absolutely is. It's always nice to see how supportive you've got. Parents, grandparents, friends, aunts and uncles, they all show up to really vamp up the experience for these kids, because most of the kids, when this event falls, they're transitioning into like the fall sports season, so they're having to perform at football games and what have you. So it's kind of a cool practice or trial run leading into that season.
And it's really amazing to see, actually, the quality of cheerleading as well as the bands. There are some top-notch marching bands in our area.
They are, and it's really cool to see because, like, specifically with the band show, we basically have every school in Allen County represented in this show. So it's a pretty cool opportunity, and at an affordable cost of only $5 to enter the grandstands for that event.
So that brings us we're up to like Thursday. Yeah. And for me, the exciting part of the fair is the livestock sale, which starts Thursday night and then runs on into Friday. But talk about the livestock sale and where do those proceeds go? And I understand we're up big time this year in poultry. Is that right?
We are, yes. So the way I like to explain the livestock auction, it is the culmination of our mission, and it is also the payday, finally, or the reward, as we like to put it, for our over 1,400 junior fair exhibitors that exhibit livestock projects at the fair each year. And that auction, especially the last couple years, has been absolutely incredible. We have the last 2 years, or 3 years, broken 2 records each year. Total gross brought into the sale, and then smallest check cut to a junior fair kid. We just broke the record last year, gross sale, over $920,000 brought into that auction, spread across 1,400 kids. Pretty incredible.
It is incredible. I know I get to help announce on Thursdays, and
Yes.
Because Todd Walker will be going to a little football game thing that night.
Yep.
I think LCC and Shawnee play that night, but the place will be packed. And Thursday night, I think we're doing chickens and rabbits, right?
I believe so,
And then,
yep.
and then everything else is on Friday, which is, so we'll get the hogs and the cattle and all the lambs and all that stuff, right?
Yes, and we're so extremely grateful for the overwhelming community support that auction has gotten, especially the last couple years, and to see the smiles on those kids' faces when that gavel hits the auction block and it's sold, and you just see the kids smile and that sense of fulfillment, like, man, all of this hard work that I've put in all year long on my project is finally paying off. Hopefully they have a little money to put in their pocket to either keep away for college or their future endeavor, but they also have some money to roll over into their project for next year.
And really, the heart of the fair is the junior fair. And I know we've talked about this before, but maybe because you come from that background, but when I talk to the kids out at the fairgrounds, it's always amazing to hear about what 4-H or FFA has meant to them. Maybe it was a shy kid and it got them so that they could speak in front of a group, or things like. Talk about the values and the lessons learned in FFA and 4-H.
Yes, I'm glad you're speaking to this, and I might sound a little biased because, like you said, I am a product of our 4-H and FFA programs. But to be honest with you, Russ, our 4-H and FFA program here in Allen County is, bar none, in my opinion, one of the top tier programs in the state of Ohio. I mean, we have some great leaders in charge of these 2 different organizations, but the life skills that are built within these programs are something that kids are never going to get from a classroom. And please don't take that, listeners, as I'm bashing on our schools, because I have lots of family members, including my own parents, that are teachers. But the life skills that are instilled in these kids through working these projects are unreal. I mean, go down the list. Responsibility, communication, being fiscally responsible and economical. I mean, these are all skills that they're going to be able to take once they exit these programs, and whatever future career they decide to go into, it's going to have an impact on them. And I know you can speak to this too, Russ, I'm working at Nutrien, but I talk to employers all the time, and they always say, regardless of what line of work it is, if there is 4-H or FFA background depicted on a resume, more often than not, employers sort those kids to the top of the list because they know that they are hard workers.
Yeah, and I really encourage people, when you're out at the fair, spend some time in the barns, talk to the kids, and they love to talk about their projects. And when they talk to you about their project, you're going to understand how sharp these kids are. I mean, they get it. It's not like they just bought a chicken and raised a chicken, and it's like they understand all about chickens.
They do, and I can speak to that a little bit more because I can remember growing up out at the Allen County Fair and having my pigs in the swine barn. I actually really enjoyed it when people would walk by and ask me questions about my project, because that made me feel like they cared about what I was doing, but also it allowed me to be the expert for a minute and put my teacher hat on and teach them a little bit about what it takes to get to this point to where you can exhibit a project at the Allen County Fair.
So what else is going on in the grandstand?
Yeah, so to round out the last 2 days of our fair after the livestock scramble. So on Friday, we've got the demolition derby in the grandstands, which is honestly, aside from the concert, probably our heaviest attended event. And then we round out on the last Saturday, August 29th. We're kind of playing on theme with the America's 250th birthday, and we're going to go out with a bang again this year, pun intended. We are going to have an America 250 fireworks celebration. And those of you and our listeners that have or watched the fireworks show that we had last year, the feedback that we got on it was incredible. I mean, we were getting compared to Disney World when it came to how good of a caliber of show that we had.
I heard somebody say they thought you looked a lot like Mickey Mouse.
I knew you had to get one jab in today. But anyways, we are bringing the exact same company back that put on that show, so the American Firework Company, and we told them your one condition is you have to put on the same caliber show that you did last year. So yes, we are really looking forward to that. I will tell you that after experiencing last year's show, the absolute best place to watch the fireworks show is from the grandstands and bleachers. We open that up. There is no charge to get into the grandstands or bleachers that day. They're going to be fired off just on the east side of the infield. So they will be right there in front of you, and you'll feel like you're really a part of the show at that point. And then probably for the next, I'm going to say, until our next anniversary or celebratory year, we're not going to be bringing fireworks back because we want to keep them special.
Sounds great. So what would be, so you've been on the fair since you were what, like 3 years old?
Yep.
First time?
Yep.
Favorite fair food?
Oh, this is a tough one, especially when we have lots of very supportive vendors, over 100 food vendors at our fair. To be honest with you, I'm going to give you a couple, just because if I ate at one place all 9 days, I'd probably need to go on a diet after the fair. But you can't beat a cattleman's ribeye. Pork Producers has a great breakfast sandwich that I always like to hit up at least a couple times. Buckland Acres Bistro, and Brian, that works for you guys out at Nutrien, they make an incredible sausage sandwich as well. I know J&M and also Lugabelle on the south end of the property, their ice cream is fantastic. So throughout the 9 days, I try to at least visit, I'm going to say 10 to 12 of those food vendors, because I just can't get enough of it. It's my favorite thing.
You have a favorite ride?
Ooh, I probably haven't gotten on one of those rides, Russ, since I was like, maybe 16, which wasn't that long ago.
A couple of years ago?
Yeah, but, oh man, honestly, one of my favorite rides growing up was on the north end of the property. Poor Jack, I can't even remember the name of it now, I always called it the magic carpet ride, but it's the ride that like swings down, swings you up in the air, and then swings you back down. I don't
Yeah.
remember the name of the ride, but that was always my favorite.
Very cool. Last chance. Anything you want to remind people of before they, it's right around the corner.
Yes, yeah. So two things I think we should highlight before we get off. We need to talk about the podcast schedule during the fair and how many you do during the day and invite people to go out and watch that. With being in the milking parlor, Russ, you graciously host, and Alex and Ann as well. It's like 3 a day, roughly.
About 4 a day.
Four a day in the milking parlor, and you're welcome to attend those live because we have those nice glass windows that you can actually peek in there and watch. It's kind of fun to see friends and family interact with the kids when they're in there with you.
It is. Yes, it is.
So that's a cool opportunity. But also, I would like to highlight our wood carving auction. The wood carving auction takes place on the last Saturday of the fair at 2:30 p.m. on the Nutrien Plaza stage. And those of you that have been to the fair know who the Bear Hollow wood carvers are and how talented those individuals are. So with those 20 to 25 wood carvings that they make us throughout the 9 days, they go up for auction, and then all of the proceeds raised from that auction go into the Allen County Agricultural Society's scholarship fund, to where we can give away scholarships each and every year.
And last year, you give out a lot of scholarships. It was like 10 or 12?
Last year, we gave away 10 $750 scholarships, and we had 10 applicants. So everyone that applied got a scholarship. And last year, I think the auction brought in around $20,000 to $22,000. So we're actually looking at maybe even next year being able to either vamp up the number of scholarships that we're getting or the dollar amount size that we're giving away.
Any secret at the fair that's like, if somebody's coming to the fair for the first time, that is like, you can't miss this one thing at the fair?
Oh, you're really putting me on the spot here.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think. I would say it's really hard to see everything in a day. That's why our fair is 9 days long, and you have the opportunity to come more than once. But we spoke to the junior fair being the heart of our fair. I can't harp on enough the importance of, and I know it's not really a secret, but from my eyes looking in, somebody that's not been out to the fair before, you really need to take advantage of that opportunity to visit the livestock barns, visit the buildings on the north end of the property, and interact with those folks. Some of those folks have been running those departments or operating them for like 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They've been around the block, they know what they're doing, and most of those folks are volunteers. And once you get to know those volunteers and hear those stories and experiences that they've had at the fair, will really give you that conceptualization of, man, this is something that I can buy into and an experience that I want to be a part of for years to come.
All right. We're off. This is the start of our third season. I think this is actually episode 37 or 38, something like that. And so it's here. We're here. We're kicking off the podcast season right now, and I will see you at the fair.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on today, Russ.
Thank you.